So hey guys, today we are going to see about the veins of the face. Okay, so basically if you look at the veins, they are going to carry your deoxygenated blood from the tissues to the heart. So the ultimate destination is going to be the heart. So the exception will be your pulmonary veins and your umbilical veins, leave that. So other than your pulmonary veins and your umbilical veins, all the veins are going to carry your deoxygenated blood. So basically it is used to carry your the waste products, as simple as that. Okay, so if you look at the veins of the face, okay, so it is very simple. I'm going to just give you an overall view of what are the veins here. So you have your two veins from the scalp. Okay, this is going to be your supratrochlear and your supraorbital veins. Okay, I'll just write here. So this is going to be your supratrochlear and this is your supraorbital. So you have two veins here from the scalp. You have your supratrochlear and you have your supraorbital veins, and these two veins, they join to form what is called as the facial vein. Fine. This is your facial vein. Okay, so you have your supratrochlear and your supraorbital veins which joins to form the facial vein, and this facial vein, it goes down. Okay, this goes down and it gives rise to your superior labial vein and your inferior labial veins. Your superior and your inferior labial veins. Fine. So your supratrochlear supraorbital gives rise to a facial vein which goes down and gives rise to superior and inferior labial veins, and it moves down. Okay, I'll tell where it joins. Okay, so on the other hand, if you look at here, you have something called as your superficial temporal vein. Okay, you have your superficial temporal vein, you have your maxillary vein which joins to form your, what is this? This is your retromandibular vein. Okay, you have your superficial temporal vein, you have your maxillary vein. Okay, you have your superficial temporal vein, you have a maxillary vein which joins to form your retromandibular vein. So your face is basically supplied by very two important veins, that is your facial vein and your retromandibular vein. Okay, so your retromandibular vein is formed by your superficial temporal vein and your maxillary vein, and this retromandibular vein, if you see, it divides into two. Okay, your anterior and your posterior. This is your anterior division of your retromandibular vein and this is your posterior division of your retromandibular vein. Okay, this is your anterior and this is your posterior. Okay, so we left the facial nerve, right? So this facial nerve, this comes down and joins with your anterior division of your retromandibular vein. Okay, this joins down and to meet your anterior division of retromandibular vein, and they form what is called as the common facial vein. The common facial vein. Okay, so your anterior division of your retromandibular vein plus your facial vein, they join to form your common facial vein which drains into your internal jugular vein. Okay, which continues your internal jugular vein. Okay, this is one aspect of your venous drainage. Another one, if you see, you have your posterior auricular vein. Fine, the posterior auricular vein, they join with your posterior division of your retromandibular vein. This is your posterior auricular vein. They join with the posterior division of your retromandibular vein and they end up as external jugular vein, which is ultimately going to end in your subclavian vein. Okay, so you have your posterior auricular vein which joins your posterior division of your retromandibular vein. They form your external jugular vein which drains into your subclavian vein. So this is the overall superficial veins which supply your face. If you look at the deep veins, you have some deep veins. Okay, you have your it is your superior ophthalmic veins. Okay, this is your deeper vein, this is your superior ophthalmic vein. Okay, and you have another deep vein. For distinguishing, I am drawing it in a different color. This is your deep vein, this is your superior ophthalmic veins, and you have what is called as your deep facial vein. Okay, this is your deep facial vein. So they are very important because you have something called as the cavernous sinus. Okay, you have something called as the cavernous sinus somewhere here. Okay, so what happens? This is your dangerous area of the face. That is your lower aspect of the nose to your upper lip. This is your dangerous area of the face. Okay, so what happens? Any infection here is carried to the cavernous sinus thrombosis. Okay, I'll tell you how. Okay, uh, any infection is carried to the cavernous sinus, which might lead to the cavernous sinus thrombosis. Okay, so if you look at here, the facial vein, they usually the veins are valveless. Okay, so what happens is your infection from the facial vein is carried to the deep facial vein, where it joins your what is called as your pterygoid plexus of veins. Fine, this is your pterygoid plexus of veins. Okay, pterygoid plexus of veins. So once this deep facial vein joins your pterygoid plexus of vein, and from here the emissary veins, they pass on to the cavernous sinus. So the infection from here is carried to the cavernous sinus via this pathway, and that might lead to the cavernous sinus thrombosis. Similarly, if you look at here, your supraorbital veins, they continue via your superior ophthalmic vein, which might lead to a cavernous sinus. Right. So these two are the main tributaries of the cavernous sinus, which might lead to cavernous sinus thrombosis in case of any infections. And this is an overall view of your veins of your face. So what the MCQ will be like, the common facial vein is formed by, your retromandibular vein is formed by, your external jugular vein is formed by. All these are very simple questions which will be asked in MCQ, so don't get confused. So I'm going to tell you a very important mnemonic. Okay, I think it's a bit complicated, but I hope it makes sense. Okay, so this is nothing but, see, frequent stops in rock mountains in your favorite car, which is an Indian car, gives a permanent experience. Okay, gives permanent experience. Okay, this mnemonic is a little bit weird, but you can easily remember it. That is, you're going to a you're going to a beautiful mountain, you're taking stops, you're taking pictures, and that memory is going to be cherished by you lifelong, right? So see, this again I'm going to repeat this: frequent stops in rock mountains in your favorite car, which is Indian, gives a permanent experience. Okay, just focus on the bold letters. Okay, okay, now this F is your facial now. Okay, this F is going to be your facial now. Let me tell you, this is your facial now. Okay, so the facial nerve is formed by your supratrochlear and your supraorbital. Okay, supratrochlear and your supraorbital. So your facial nerve is formed by your supratrochlear and your supraorbital. Just leave this in. R is your retromandibular vein. Okay, this is your retromandibular vein. The retromandibular vein is formed by your maxillary veins, and I'm sorry, you have to highlight this also. Your maxillary vein plus your superficial temporal vein. So your retromandibular vein is formed by your maxillary vein and your superficial temporal vein in your favorite car. Okay, this FA, your facial vein plus your anterior division of the retromandibular vein, they join to give what is called as your common facial vein. This C, this is your common facial vein. Fine, which continues as your internal jugular vein. This is your internal jugular vein. Okay, and if you look at the other aspect of it, as I said, your this is your posterior auricular vein. Okay, this is your posterior auricular vein, and your posterior division of your retromandibular vein. This is your posterior auricular vein, and this is your posterior aspect of your retromandibular vein. Okay, the posterior auricular vein and the posterior retromandibular vein, they join to form your external jugular vein. Okay, and how I will repeat it. So frequent, F is for your facial stops, superficial your supratrochlear and your supraorbital, and your moving on to the other aspect of it, the retromandibular vein, which is formed by your maxillary vein and your superficial temporal vein, which your facial vein plus your anterior aspect of your retromandibular vein, they join to form your common facial vein, which continues as your internal jugular vein, and your posterior auricular vein plus your posterior aspect of your retromandibular vein gives rise to your external jugular vein, which continues as your subclavian vein. Okay, so this is an overall view of your veins of the face. I hope you like this video, and do watch and share it with your friends. Thank you for watching this video, guys.